Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast where every 2 weeks we discuss an anime, and then we turn it over to the comment section to continue that discussion. But remember, we are 3 Bakas, so we do definitely need your help. That is the concept of the show. Very book clubby, but with only watching TV. We just watched Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. The side prequel to the regular Konosuba series. And I need the help of my co-host to discuss it. First off, we have the Mork and Mindy to my happy days. It's Jeremy.
Hi. I'm figuring out an
He's going to tell you an anime that he likes or dislikes to let you know his taste.
Konosuba.
Picks Konosuba. All right. We also have my Joni Loves Chachi to my happy days. It's Jason.
What? They get weirder every week. Are you just running out of material?
No, that is very topical. They're both spin-off shows from Happy Days.
I see what you did there.
There it is.
Mork and Mindy isn't, though.
Yes, it is.
What?
Happy Days spins off a lot. Mork showed up in one episode of Happy Days and then got his own series.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
God. I didn't know there was aliens in Happy Days. Okay. Anyways,
I've been thinking about this because I've been wanting to rewatch it and also like show it to my younger son. But Princess Mononoke, I need to watch that like every couple of years. It's just such a good movie.
True story. That movie was on in my house yesterday.
No kidding. That's amazing.
My daughter is showing her best friend Miyazaki films because she's never seen any. And they had watched Spirited Away. And her friend's like, but is there any with romance? And they're like, Dad, which one? And I'm like, yeah. Well, House also has it, but go with Princess Mononoke. That's the one I prefer. And so they watched it, and I watched some of it, and it was great.
Nothing says come hither like blood running down your mouth.
Well, hey, what about the scene where she's got a knife to his throat? He says, "You're beautiful," and she doesn't kill him. That's Riz.
That's...
And my name is Troy, and I choose Konosuba. I like the anime Konosuba. Well, it's kind of an obvious one. I'm really surprised you didn't go with it.
I mean, but I said it like last week, I think.
That's probably true. ReZero?
Not really a comedy, but
it seemed to be on the brain tonight.
Yeah. I was calling certain characters Subaru earlier. My bad.
Isekai Quartet.
I didn't like it.
What? Okay, we only saw like a little tiny bit of the first season. I remember the first couple episodes being really good. It didn't stay good.
I didn't keep watching it. I thought it was fine, but it wasn't what I wanted.
It's probably pretty awful because of the art style.
No, the best thing was the chibi.
All right.
That for this Christmas.
For Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world, we're now going to give you non-spoiler reviews. We are going to get to a spoiler section later, but right now we're just going to tell you our thoughts on the anime that we watched to help you decide if you haven't seen it yet, if you should. Jason, this was your pick. You can start us off.
I found it to be a treat. It was. I had a lot of fun with it. Normally doing like, this is why this person's this way. Backstories are not particularly compelling. And this one wasn't either, as far as this is how she got her eye patch or this is how she got her staff. But the character, like one of the great things that Konosuba does is the characters, and the characters are a delight to watch. I liked a lot of them. the storyline was, it got you from A to Z, but the Konosuba moments are, I don't laugh out loud at a lot of stuff, and this one got me. So I would say, even if you haven't seen Konosuba, this is worth a watch.
So would you say this is comedy?
I think it's a comedy anime. Would I describe comedy as a concept with this? Probably not.
Wow. Okay. Jeremy, why don't you tell us what you thought?
I mean, it's not as good as the main series. That's my biggest takeaway, is that I really want to see the main series.
Is that a fair critique, however?
I mean, it's got the same name. I think it's fair because when I come to Konosuba, I want Konosuba.
Right, but they never advertise this as Konosuba is the relationship between and conversations between the main characters. We only get one of them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in the title. Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world.
Yeah, but if I go, okay, I'm going to see this prequel about one character. Oh, it's not all four. It's garbage. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't track.
Well, I mean, that's fine. But for me, I know when I'm coming to anything that's about Konosuba, I want to see Konosuba levels of humor. And when I saw that in this, I enjoyed it. But they were not consistent, at least not as consistent as they are in the main series. So a lot of the time I was just kind of waiting, waiting for more funny. When the funny hit, it hit really well. It just wasn't there as often as I was expecting. So I'm a little bit disappointed. Also, I had forgotten that she even had an eye patch, and I felt really bad when I realized that, because I was like, I'm such a fan of it, this series, that like I even have like the blanket that you guys got. I think Troy got that, and for one of our Christmases a long time ago, and I still got it. And so like she's right there. She's right there. I see her all the time. It just totally didn't click when I was watching. And so I was kind of kicking myself because I was like, oh man, that girl at the beginning has an eye patch. I bet she's really important, interesting. Then later I'm like, oh, duh. Duh. So like, I don't know. It's all right, but not as good as I was hoping.
Sorry, Jason. I'm super in his boat. That was like the first episode. I was like, who needs this? I'm not really a prequel guy anyway. Make your Star Wars jokes. Go ahead. But I honestly felt that way when those prequels came out. Like, this isn't the story I want to see. I want to see the story go forward. I want to see Megumin's adventures with the other characters we know. I know. Sorry. The first episode goes by and I'm like, I'm not laughing that much. She's not working in the mix that she's in. She's not just fitting in like she usually does. Second episode, some great Konosuba style moments happen and I'm laughing. There's some great the face work that they do in Konosuba carries onto this. There are faces that will make me laugh regardless of what is being said out loud. Certain characters don't even say a line. They just get a face and they draw them completely out of whack with their symmetry of their face, and it's so funny every time. They keep doing that. There are moments in this that really made me genuinely laugh. There's moments I really do like, but on a whole, I'm like, please just make more regular Konosuba. I didn't need this backstory. She's a great character, but on her own, she's not enough to carry a series. So I guess I would recommend this as skippable unless you are a super Konosuba fan and you want every little bit of lore and want to know how she got her eye patch. Then you do need to watch it.
Yeah, and like honestly, if I was going on a Konosuba binge, I would include this. Absolutely 100% I would include this. Like just to get every piece of it. But as its own standalone, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's fair to go, hey, this scene wasn't funny to me, and you could give X, Y, and Z. But if the argument is, I didn't find this funny because it didn't have Kazuma, Darkness, and Aqua in it, I don't think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, I definitely, that's not my statement.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking about specific
Well, you
characters.
said
I was just
you
thinking
said
about
because it's not
tone and-
Konosuba, I don't like it. But
Yeah, Konosuba levels of humor. Like it's not consistently, the presence of such interesting character dynamics. Not necessarily those characters, like use different characters to have interesting dynamics, but we just kind of
which they do a few times really well.
Right.
But
The series of Konosuba has set a bar, right? The regular
Yeah.
series set a bar. They make a side series. You're saying, okay, I'm grading you on this curve
Right.
that of the same series, and you didn't reach it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do think the weakness is because you took an ensemble comedy and you tried to make it a much more, I guess, a duo buddy comedy at most, or a single person comedy, and it just that character's aspects works better in an ensemble, no matter who the ensemble is. It doesn't have to be Darkness and Kazuma.
And Aqua.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget Aqua.
can't forget Aqua.
I'll be honest,
Jeremy
guys.
even
Darkness is my favorite and funniest character in Konosuba, and I missed her so bad. But that is not fair to this series. Jason's right about that. I can't say this series is bad just because Darkness wasn't in it.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But I do wish Darkness was in it, but that's just because I want more
You glimpsed her a couple times.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Well, I'm kind of.
All right. What's your guys' thoughts on the opening and closing?
I loved both of them, and the opening was just really good, like really good Sakura, and the music was good. But the ending, even though I love the like cheesy drawing animation, and that song just got me every time. I don't, and the little dance those characters do is just, got me every time. Love it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the outro. Like, I don't know why, but I got Bob's Burgers vibes from it every single time it played. And like just the way the characters were there, I was like, I saw the little one, what's her name? Elise or something like that. I forget her name, but the daughter on Bob's Burgers, the youngest one. But for the intro, I was a little bit like, it felt very, it's not a bad thing. It's exactly what I would expect from an intro. Like it felt formulaic. Like it definitely had like, it was pretty scenes and everything, and introduction to characters and interesting moments and stuff. But I just very much felt like what I would expect an anime opening to feel like, and the music fit too. But it didn't make a huge impression on me.
I love the opening. That face thing I was talking about, the opening does it like 5 times in a row fantastically. The scene of Megumin just running with her classmates and staring at the big boob girl and just having this look of, oh, I hate you for having those. It's just a quick moment, and I laughed at it every single time. There's also, Yun Yun making faces. So yeah, I love the opening. The song was good. The outro, again, that weird cartoon style they were doing, it was super charming and fun to sit through. I enjoyed it every time. All right, that takes us to the end of the non-spoiler discussion. But before we go to spoilers, we need to talk about our next anime. Jeremy's pick, The Legendary Hero is Dead. That's right. It's a fantasy story about a hero who dies and the loser who takes his place.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
all
thought the premise sounds interesting. Yeah. Yeah, the premise sounds interesting, and then also like it has an ecchi tag, so it should be interesting.
Yes,
we'll see what happens.
Please be aware that Jeremy has chosen an ecchi tag, and the entire audience gasps in surprise. Modest Jeremy wants to see ecchi humor? Yes, please be aware of that if that is your or not your thing.
I'm hoping it's not going to go overboard, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed. All right, let's go to our spoiler section. So spoilers for Konosuba, probably as much as Konosuba as we can remember, which I think is Swiss cheese spotted at best.
Yeah.
But also mostly for Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world, the series that we just watched. Lots of spoilers there. All right. We start in our first episode. Do I need to introduce the world? This is a video game world. It's an isekai world, but none of these characters are isekai characters. Isekai characters are off doing something else. Even though from the movie, we learned that an isekai character founded this village, right? Taught them their culture.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so was it Chubio? Help me out. Sorry.
Chunboyu?
Chunboyo. A Chunboyo isekai guy came to this, started this village, and that's why they act this way. Because he taught them
the Crimson Demons?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. I missed that.
They're in the movie. We watched the movie on the podcast. That's right. I don't remember most of it.
It was a long time ago.
It was.
It's like multiple years at this point. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember that this village's founder was another isekai character who just brought his cringe attitude and instilled it into their culture.
That's awesome. I know that there are other isekai characters too, because like there's a guy with a cursed sword who actually plays a role in the main series as well. And so the fact that we're actually observing NPCs and that our story is focused entirely on the NPCs of this isekai world, I think that's kind of novel. I don't know that I've seen that before.
It actually caught me off guard when they pulled out the cards, started leveling up, and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't like a video game world. I completely forgot that.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the lore of the world at all, it was interesting that the guildmaster later says, "Oh, you get your card from school." So unlike other isekai where you're kind of born with it or you've got some sort of innate power that you get access to it. No, it's something that they get handed at a certain age.
I thought you get your card at the Adventurer Guild when you register.
Most people, but just not Crimson Demons.
Yeah. Right. But like when they, at one point they get level up potions, and I was like, skill up potions, and I was like, oh yeah, this world is wonky.
Yep. I also love how the teacher will like use skill points as reward, but they're not real. Like he's not like he said at one point he asked questions. He's like, all right, who knows like how to best be prepared for combat or something like that. And then he was throwing out like 5 points for you, 50 points for you, 100 points for you. But later we see that the cost of explosion magic is only 50 points. So in advanced magic is only 30. So like all of that was just nothing.
Yeah. To level up, they had to actually kill things.
Yeah. He's not just actually giving them points. It's just words.
All right.
Yeah.
So
where the poses are amazing and the points don't matter.
That's right.
Nice.
Village.
So we see our young main character. She finishes this puzzle, which is like freeing a demon, and this sorceress is also freed. And the sorceress casts explosion magic. And this wows the little girl, Megumin, who we'll talk about in a minute. We'll do the character analysis. But the sorceress is like, I'll grant you any wish. And she's like, I wish for this. Well, okay, I can't. That's way too powerful. I'm not that strong. I'm just a sorceress. Okay, I guess I want some crawfish. No, like, I am a sorcerer. I can give you like something
World domination.
Cool. Yeah, world domination. No, that's too far again. And then she wishes to learn the explosion magic, and then we see her with the crawfish. All she got. This is our main character, Megumin, who will be obsessed with explosion magic for the rest of her life, as I'm sure most people already know by the time they're. I can't imagine a lot of people are like starting their Konosuba journey here. But your guys' thoughts on Megumin, especially in this series?
Her being obsessed with explosion magic obviously wasn't surprising. I thought it was charming to watch her obsess over it so much, especially after everyone told her not only is this dumb, but people consider it joke magic. But I was thinking about it, like, imagine if you're putting together like a Rainbow Six team, and you've got like your guy who does breaching, and you've got another you got like two guys that are like have their rifles, and then you got like a guy that's like really good at like hand-to-hand combat, and then you've got dude that the only thing he has is a nuke.
Yeah.
and like he has no knives, he has no guns. It's just he carries around a nuke.
Yep.
How useful is that person? And this is Megumi.
Yep. And always wants to use it, and is like looking for an opportunity to use it too. Isn't even just like in the back pocket, like I probably won't be used today, but it's like I must once a day. I must blow this nuke up.
But Jason, to bring back an old classic, how does that make you feel?
I knew that was coming this episode.
My feelings of being enraged are being stoked at the moment.
No, okay, I'm being serious. You described Megumin, but I how do you feel about her?
Oh, I adore her. I think her self-centeredness is what kind of brings her to the Konosuba formulation to begin with. And also that she's got this horrendous double standard for everyone else. That she holds everyone else up to this moral code, but as soon as money's involved, it's out the window. I love it so much. She's completely morally bankrupt, and it's one of my favorite things about her.
All right, Jeremy, your thoughts.
I mean, I remember really, really liking her in Konosuba. I liked her here as well. She was very fun. Some of the moments where she was especially like teaching the Axis cult how to scam people really cracked me up. And also where she's like, okay, so like the Crimson Demons basically are just constantly always lying about who they are and about how great they are. But not just that, they're also lying about any kind of situation. So if any situation is put in front of them, they'll like make up a story about how it happened or where it came from. And you don't really get this impression from Megumin that much. She seems like she's kind of stable and she's not going to do that until there's a couple of scenes where the opportunity is just presented to her where somebody else does it. And she just goes right along with them and just like builds off of that, improvs off of it so well. And it cracked me up, mainly because it was being played off of like by Yunyun, the other main character, essentially, who was kind of the straight man of the whole thing. So yeah, so she was fine. She was entertaining.
She's not my favorite in Konosuba. She is a great character, though. You know, if I can put my bias aside for a certain darkness lady. When I originally watched Konosuba, I didn't know what the Chunabuyo thing is. Now that I know, it definitely makes her character much more appealing. I get kind of what the joke is, all the posing and stuff. That clicks a lot better. So I think I like her now more than I ever have before. Again, my biggest thing is she's an ensemble piece and not fully capable of carrying the show on her own. But when her moments hit well. She has some great moments in this, and I can't take that away no matter what review I end up giving it. All right, so
Man, that was ominous.
We see her get a bunch of crawfish, and she's waiting to learn explosion magic, and then she goes home for dinner with her dad and mom, who are having sukiyaki because they made a big sale today. They sold a really fancy magical bracelet to a mysterious woman. This will come back later. It won't come back for a while, but hold on to this moment in your hearts because it pays off.
Now, they made it sound like Dad was extremely good at making magical items.
But we learned where cursed magical items come from in video games.
But he's a Crimson Demon. They make everything they do sound like they're really good at it.
It's true.
Right.
I'm
absolutely.
the foremost greatest coffee maker in the Crimson Demon Village.
Yeah. Plus, later they were like, oh, we got a bunch of money. We need to go and buy a bunch of supplies, some magic supplies to prepare for this conflict. she comes back and she's got all these magical supplies, and she's like, the Crimson Demons made all this. So I get the impression that the foremost suppliers of magical artifacts and potions and things like that are the Crimson Demons. And we see even then there's like an unexpected side effect. So they make the magic items and they're unreliable is what it seems like.
They do. The Crimson Demons in the world do seem to have a positive reputation. Like people are like, oh, Crimson Demon, that means powerful magic automatically. So I'm guessing some of the bravado is earned, but it's hard to tell when literally they think they're the best at everything they do.
Every single one of them thinks that, yeah.
You know the movie Galaxy Quest and how it was about aliens who watched Star Trek and so they built their society around that? It's like, yeah, it's like if this village watched The Eminence in Shadow.
Yes.
Matter of fact, in my
that is
head
an
canon,
amazing analogy.
In my head canon, I was like, what if he founded this village? It would totally work in this world.
Yeah.
Or they got a hold of like the series and they will watch that as
right.
Like history and not a show.
Here's how we should always act. So yeah, for those of you who haven't seen Konosuba, that's the concept. Eminence in Shadow, the village.
Yes.
But anyway, so because of the big sale, and not only are they eating meat, they were able to get her a school uniform, and she's able to go to the Magic Academy. Now, she always says she's the premier student, and she is. It seems like that's actually true. She is the best student in the bunch. But yeah, she goes to the academy, and we meet Yunyun, who Megumi's like, who are you? And she's like, we live close together. We're in the same village. You gave me a crawfish when we were little kids.
And she's the chief's daughter. Like, how do you not know the chief's daughter?
Yeah, this is also the chief's daughter. Okay,
but she's just so invisible all the time.
We're about to talk about Yunyun. Guys, when Yunyun came on Konosuba, didn't Megumin be like, I don't remember you?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wow, that's rude. Because she's just hanging out with her till like the day Konosuba starts.
Yep.
Or when she joined the party and was with her to that. I mean, Yunyun was in the village with her. Whatever. Thoughts on Yunyun?
I think she's adorable. She's all the things that she is in the main Konosuba series. But I did like that they expounded upon like who she is and her relationship with Megumin. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember them saying in the school, Crimson Demons don't party together because they'll basically step on each other's bravado.
I didn't hear that. I thought it was just because they were both mages, but you might be right. I could have missed it.
Right. So, it's weird that they're spending so much time together outside of the school. But also, like, Yunyun's just got this pure of heart, and she's trying to be, like, the outlandish and having poses and stuff, but she just can't bring herself to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got the biggest heart out of everyone in this anime, and she ends up sacrificing advanced magic because of her willingness to help, which Megumin is just 100% willing to take advantage of.
Well, yeah. And I think Yunyun was 100% necessary. Like, and I know this is a backstory, so that might seem like a redundant statement, but to make the comedy work, Megumin needs somebody that is going to be a straight man to bounce off of. And Yunyun played that part perfectly. She fit the role great. I also really enjoyed how she played that part with the entire village, even before the two of them broke off. Just because, like, the way I saw it was like you're in a Renaissance fair and you're the only person that is like, what's going on here? Everybody else is LARPing and they're completely caught up in their imagination, and you're like, but no, that's not what's happening.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like she is also a Crimson Demon. So that tells you it's not in their blood. It's not like a genetic thing to behave this way. This is just like they are trained and they take to the training. Like they like it. They love it. And she just doesn't get it. It's adorable. That part cracks me up.
Yeah, the fact that Yun is self-aware of how cringe they are, but because she's the only one who gets it, she's the weird one. She's the oddity.
Yeah.
She's the cringy one because she's reading the books about how
Yeah.
to make friends instead of how to destroy your enemies. I mean, even Megumin, her wish is to kill the Demon King and take his throne. Like, they're not even good people. It's about just being the cringe lord of cringe lords. And yeah, the fact that Yun, like I said, is constantly the straight man in the village. She's the only one, so it actually makes her almost the comedic element, and then becomes the straight man when they leave the village.
Mm-hmm.
She's my favorite character. I didn't really care for her in Konosuba. I don't remember. She just kind of I didn't feel fit with the team. Excuse me. She didn't fit with the team, but in this, she makes the series work when it works at its best. And her face is Megumin will just say something and she'll just be like, "Oh." Got me every time. Very fun. Megumin is warned by her teacher not to pursue explosion magic. It's a joke magic. It is what fools try to learn. It is silly and stupid. Learn something cool like me, lightning.
Yeah. You gotta learn advanced magic if you're a Crimson Demon. Otherwise, you're ostracized.
Yep. So they're taking for battle training where they have to learn the most important part of battle. And Union's like, oh, like defending ourselves. He's like, no, posing. And so they have to practice posing. We see that. So Union and Megumin have this rival relationship, but really best friends relationship, and it's constantly. It's very, at least in Megumin's point of view, it's very subtle, like things she does. So in this part, Megumin teams up with one of the other top students to do their practice posing together, and she sees Union alone. So she says, "I'm sick," so that Union will have a partner. Going out of her way for her friend.
Well, half. Because she could have been like, hey, why don't I switch with the teacher? And I can be Union's partner. No, she didn't want to be Union's partner, so she faked being sick.
Also, the fake being sick, the teacher's like, no, you're not sick. No, an evil spirit has taken my body and is about to burst forth. And he's like, the great thing about the teacher is he knows she's lying, but it's so cool. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about the Crimson Demons. That's a great story. Yeah. Go with it. Go be your
if it's cool,
self.
like rule of cool taken to 10.
Right.
This is basically what this place is.
And then all the tulips escape, and they have to chase down tulips.
I did love how like tulips and potatoes and stuff would become animate and attack them at various scenes. That definitely cracked me up.
Also, this taught me that to Crimson Demons, magic comes so naturally and easy to them that studying about magic is less important than looking cool doing it. Because like as soon as they get their skills, they can just cast them masterfully. So I think that's pretty neat that they've got a society of casters that are just that proficient out of the womb.
Do they though? Because isn't the way that works in Konosuba is once you put the skill points in on your card, you can just do the thing. That there's literally no point to actually training in it.
You get it, and so like you end up at that power level, but like you have to have practice using said power level. It's like if you get Super Master Sword, sure I can defeat the Demon King with it, but if I don't know how to swing it, I'm not going to be defeating a rat, right?
Doesn't Kazuma get steel and just become a super proficient stealer because he's on his card? Now he has a high luck stat too, which could factor in. But yeah, I thought it was like once it's on your card,
maybe
it's just automatic.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
I think it has to do with their innate magic stat and intelligence stat. Like I think if you get, I don't think you can get the advanced magic unless you level those stats up. And I think that's where the Crimson Demons get their easy access to the magical power and why they can just do it right out the door. I bet you most people can't just unlock advanced magic as their first choice because especially as like a teenage kid, because they probably have to like go through school, learn intermediate magic, level up their intelligence, maybe improve their magic somehow. Then they finally got the stats to where they could get advanced magic. So in a way, that is true, where like they're just so innately talented. It's like they've got fantastic min-maxed character stats at the very beginning, and they've got like all the right feats and everything to make something really cool just walking out the door.
Unlike someone who knows all the skills and has amazing stats and everything but intelligence.
Yeah. Which that cracked me up because I didn't even remember that. But yes, that is true. Aqua. We love you, Aqua. You're fantastic. Don't ever change.
All right, in the next episode, we see Yunyun buy herself a dagger from a shop. One thing about Yunyun is because she's the chief's daughter, she has money, whereas Megumin comes from a very poor family. Yunyun and Megumi have a challenge against each other every day as rivals, where Megumi wins and takes Yunyun's lunch. But it's almost like a thing where Yunyun's just bringing her best friend lunch because she knows she can't afford it and letting her have it. That's their relationship, where everything has to be under the guise of this rivalry, and any sign of actual caring for each other, it has to be quickly cleared away and worked around.
That's not as cool.
Yeah.
But even Yunyun,
which is so funny because other characters, they have friendships.
Yeah.
And they still pretend to be cool. Like there's a couple other girls that are friends. They're always walking around together and hanging out. They're almost indistinguishable from regular people instead of Crimson Demons. Like they're not as crazy.
Right.
But I wonder how much of it is just Yunyun observing, because we learn a couple times later that Yunyun's very observant and she's actually a pretty good tactician and better than Megumin. And so I wonder how much of it is like her observing Megumin. And just like Megumin was like, oh, you're hungry, here's a crawfish when they were little, Yunyun's probably like, oh, you have a problem socializing, so maybe rival would work because you'd never be friends if I just wanted to be friends. So I wonder how much of it is that.
We see Megumin return home for lunch with her little sister, Komiko. Guys, your thoughts on Komiko?
The creepiest demon sister ever.
Yes.
She catches this seemingly adorable cat. She's like, "Well, look what I caught for dinner. We have meat tonight." It's like, jeez.
I love how in the outro she's like laying there on the floor chewing on its head.
So one of my favorite things is in the intro where it shows them as younger looking for food, and they see like the clearly poisonous mushroom and then a cute rabbit with a horn on it that's cowering in fear, and then it shows a pot of clearly poisonous food, and she's wearing the horn on her head as they get ready to have rabbit stew.
Yes.
Komiko's evil. Watch out.
Oh, she is. She cracks me up, though. I actually really love this character. There's another character that shows up. He's really powerful. He's really scary. He's clearly a very powerful demon named Host, right? And she encounters him, and you'd think, like anybody else, she'd have the sense to run away. But instead, she's like, oh, who are you, goblin? Like, she is absolutely fearless. There's another scene where, like, monsters have the cat, and she's run out there in front of the monsters, and they're all pretty scary looking, especially for kids. And she's just like posturing, and even they get afraid of her. And it's just absolutely love this kid. Most of the scenes that she's in, she kind of steals. Very funny kid.
Oh, it's me. Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Thank you. Been waiting all my life for someone to ask that. Let me start my 30-minute monologue.
Here we go.
Boy.
No, she was a very funny character. Her bits worked. The fact that like a huge dilemma for Megumin is what to do with this cat, because if I take it home, my sister will eat it. And it's just a fact. I have to hide this thing from my sister so it doesn't eat the little cat with wings. And Komiko disappears, and There's a moment where Megumin's about to be the hero, and Komiko bursts out and steals her moment. Komiko's great.
Yep.
Always great for a laugh. Love Komiko. Anyway, so the cat. She brings home the cat. And like you said, its first name is what? Inca? And then it's Chomske?
Yeah,
So
Inky
in the dub,
Right.
yeah, it was Inky,
Inky.
like black, black ink, because it's an all black cat. And then Chomuske is how they pronounce it
Chomoske.
in the dub.
Stupid cat has 3 names, and I have to write notes. That's all. She takes it to school with her, Megumin, and the teacher's like, "No, you can't have that." She's like, "This is my familia, and if I don't keep it with me," he's like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you can keep that thing." Great excuse. He even says like, "That's a great lie" or something like that. But the tomb of the dark god, the seal, is weakening, so they're told they need to raise their levels rapidly. So they're divided into groups where they have to practice posing with their weapons, which are these giant, awesome weapons that are like hollow inside and not even that strong, except for Yunyun, who has her dagger. And they're told they have to kill cute little monsters. They're monsters, but like their monsters are a duck with a green onion on its back, or a rabbit with a little horn. Even though apparently
Literally tied around it with like a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
This isn't even the duck scene. We will, when I get to the duck scene, we have to talk.
Oh
about
yeah.
it. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, but it's just this like giant lizard, probably about the size of a monitor lizard. He just freezes in an ice block, and he's like, "All right, time to get it." And so like, they're like, "You grab your knife and stab it in the head."
So I felt so bad for the poor little lizard. Like so many times in this show, the characters that they're supposed to take out, like either the antagonists or Dinner or XP or whatever you want to call them, you feel bad for. It's like this anime does a really good job of twisting you like that. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, this whole scene of we caught cute, cuddly little monsters, and now we're going to execute them to force your XP to grow and get you more skill points. Yeah. Anyway, they eventually get attacked by a giant gargoyle, and the girls all have to run away. We find out this is because of the cat. The monsters are drawn to it. But they're saved by a random lightning bolt, and they find a guy in a pit, and he had saved them. His name is Bukorori, and he is not Megumin's brother, despite what one character may have said out loud in notes I wrote. He apparently grew up with Megumin. He's like a brother figure to her, but he's just a creep of the village, and a neat.
I think this other name they gave him was Stalker.
Stalker, right?
Yeah.
Right. The pit he's in is because there's a cute girl, and he thought, hey, if I dig this pit deep enough, she doesn't know teleport magic, so she'll need someone to save her. So he dug a pit to trap a girl in, and he says this out loud to these young girls, and they're
four teenage girls.
Right. So they leave him to die.
Well, because then he goes, wait, I don't have teleport tap magic either. Can you help me out of here?
Yeah, so they leave him to die, and then they see the headmaster and the teachers and a bunch of figures from the town come out and start battling the demons, the gargoyles that were attacking the monsters. And they're so into their posing attacks that they blow up their town. And then they're like, oh, our town! Those monsters destroyed our town! And Union's like, you guys blew it up. They're like, don't talk, Union! And then they rebuild the town that night, giving you the impression this is probably a routine thing.
Yep. Well, it really cracked me up, like the way they even drew it's like the baker and the shoemaker and the tailor. These are the archmages that show up at the top and are shooting their spells. And they're doing it in the most silly posture, right? And at the same time, they keep peeking over their shoulder back at the girls.
Oh,
like, are you watching? Are you watching? Are you watching?
Okay, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's like just imagine when like the Power Rangers or those types of shows, they like jump in the screen and then like do a pose. They're constantly doing that all of the time.
Yes.
Where it's just a couple of frames of their head turning back to look at the girls to make
Yeah.
sure. Are you watching? Are you watching
Yeah.
how cool we are?
Yes.
Like I said, when this series goes, what I felt was full Konosuba humor, it hits just as well as any moment in Konosuba, and this is another one of them where I was laughing, and of course the village blowing up and them being wailing. Good stuff. It's all this other stuff that I'm like jumping through where I was like, okay, come on, yeah, Jones, okay, whatever. Yeah, they rebuild the village. Next episode. Oh, they named the cat. This is where it's Inky. And then they're told they have to study alone for the day. And Yoon Yoon is reading a book about how to make friends. And these girls come over and they're like, we'll be your friend, Yoon Yoon. And they start braiding her hair. And Megumin starts battling a spider, little spider, with rubber bands, which then she starts stealing the hair bands from Yoon Yoon's styled hair to shoot at the spider. I guess they're trying to tell us that Megumin was jealous, but the spider was real. It wasn't an imaginary spider.
No, that's not. For me, I got that Megumin is so obsessed with herself that even when something nice is happening for somebody that's been nice to her and is obviously wanting to be a friend, she's so oblivious to that fact that the hair tie on her head is a means to an end, and she doesn't matter what it means by taking it off. She just needs it.
Hmm.
So I see it as a self-consumment.
Also, that was a really like uneven, not symmetrical hairdo the girls did. Cracked me up when Union was like, I was gonna leave my hair
everywhere.
This way. Yeah, and I was like, no. At least make it symmetrical if you're gonna do that.
Bukarori shows back up, teleports. He now knows teleport magic because that's the only way he was going to get out of the hole. Teleports into the library, and basically,
I love that he immediately starts talking about where his other teleportation locations are, and they're all creepy. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's in front of her house. I'd put it inside, but that just wouldn't be acceptable."
So he drags Megumin and Union along with him to help him stalk his crush, and and they come up with this plan to help him, which he instantly ruins, and she catches him. But her thought is he's constantly harassing her because he hates her so much.
Yeah.
So, but then these man bear things, they're like giant men
One
bodies
punch
with
bear
teddy bear faces, show up, and he casts his ultimate advanced magic spell, which happens to also hit her. And she's like, "You just had to hit me. You really hate me that much." But he then convinces her to tell him his fortune because she's a famous fortune teller in this village. Her fortunes are mostly accurate. She said one time she saw rain and it was just hazy, but or the opposite. Either way, so she looks for his love life to see who his future lover will be, and she sees nobody, and so he runs away crying. But then admits to Megumin and Union not having any idea, again, this guy likes her, is that, oh no, I can't look at my own fortune. I can't see anything of my own future. It's one of the rules of fortune telling. So if it was her, she wouldn't have appeared in the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So one of two things. Either it's her or it's nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
This didn't make me laugh because this felt really telegraphed and kind of a lazy joke.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I saw this coming a mile away. What you didn't see coming a mile away is then reading their fortune.
Yeah, that's later. That's another episode.
Oh, okay, that's a different.
Yeah, they go back. All right. Union brings Megumin on lunch. She's like, "Here, I don't want to fight today. Just take the frickin' lunch." And then the teacher gives out skill up potions to the top 3 students, and Megumin doesn't get one, which is
Wait,
weird.
Union doesn't get one.
Union
Yeah.
doesn't get one. Megumin does. Megumin's number 1, so she gets her skill up potion. And Union doesn't get one. And Megumin's like, what is going on with her lately? She's not battling me. She's not top of the class. She's always number 2. And then Union's new friends come up to her and ask her for a favor. Basically, one of their little brother is sick, one of them, and they need help and money for medicine. So Union,
I don't understand. They're all Crimson Demons. I don't understand why these girls aren't capable enough of making the same potion Megumin did. I mean, I guess Megumin's just that much better than the rest of them and well-read, but yeah. I mean, they're Crimson Demons. Come on.
Union asks Megumin for advice, but then decides to give them the money. But Megumin confronts them, and they're like, well, yeah, we just need a medicine for fixing them. Because her solution is like, if my friend needed medicine, I would rob the apothecary. Union's like, wait, wouldn't you just give him money? No.
Criminals together.
Yeah.
So then we get
cooler.
Then we get the scene of potion building, and they have all these like little animals they're killing, and then there's this cute duck with the green onion literally tied to its back on a string, and Union's like,
Isn't
no,
it like an onion duck?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, onion duck.
There's a Pokemon that's a duck that carries a green onion. This felt very much like a reference to, I think it's called a Farfetch'd, and it uses like a green onion as a weapon. And I was like, but this looked like that concept, but done really stupidly, right? Like someone just tied the green onion to the duck, a real regular looking duck,
and then just label it monster.
Right?
Yeah.
So Megumin's getting ready to kill it, and Union's like, no, and then they're told, no, they just need the green onion. Okay, even though the duck is worth a lot of XP and really good to eat, and so Megumin grabs it, snaps its neck. XP is worth it, man.
Yeah. And turns out she was right by the certain episode.
Yep. And Megumin, she basically tells Union, I'm this close to graduating, and Union gets upset. And she's like, I thought we were going to graduate together. And she's like, you've been holding yourself back so we can graduate together. And Union's like, yeah, maybe. And Megumin's like, that's so dumb. You should have known I was going to jump to the front of the class and get this done fast. She also gets the money back for her, I think even before they had this argument. They wrestle, and Union wins. And Megumin's like, well, I wasn't at full power. Quit lying! I still have you pinned! Poor Union. Like, Megumin's such a jerk. Even when Union wins, she just can't say Union wins. And then they're just sitting in the park, and another duck walks by, and it just shows Megumin like, walk, 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 snap! And Union's like, why do you keep killing them?
So much XP, you don't understand.
Yeah.
But then monsters fill the skies, and they go to Megumin's house, and her sister is missing. And then we get a flashback to Komiko meeting the giant demon named Host. This is the scene Jeremy mentioned where she's like, hey, it's a goblin. He's like, I am not a goblin. I am a powerful demon. And she's like taking his puzzle and like, I'll do it for you. And then it shows her like bringing him soup. And he's like, no, she needs the sacrifice of a chicken and its chick. And so she brings him egg and chicken rice. And he's like, this is not what I needed. So he flies off.
Doesn't just bring it to him, steals it from someone else and give it to him.
The neat. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So he flies off to do it himself, and she's sitting there eating it herself. And this is when Inky showed up, which means her sacrifice worked. Because we find out this is the demon that is being sealed.
Well, it's half of the demon, and I guess it's the puzzle that she completed. Is what released it, because it's the same puzzle that Megumin completed.
Maybe because that's why it's a cat, because they did it wrong, but it was technically correct. That would be really funny if that was the case.
That would be very funny. But apparently, because you remember when the lady showed up at the beginning that taught Megumin explosion magic, right? She before she annihilated that monster, she said, "You have to go back to sleep, my other half. It's not time for you yet."
Oh, so she's the other half of the god.
Yep.
Or the deep.
Yeah. So that monster was the cat. It's just that the cat is so powered down from that encounter with her other half that it's now just the cat, and little demon girl can beat the snot out of it.
Which
Is
it
this
seems
her?
to enjoy.
Is this her?
It's perfectly happy in its life.
Yeah.
Also, it doesn't seem to want to be returned to the other half, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, the gargoyles come and take it, and Megumin's like, "They took Inky." Well, we knew him well. And Union's like, "We gotta save him." Do we? Is that a thing? This feels like that's too dangerous. I gotta find my sister. But they go off. They find the sister who's saving the cat, and this is we have seen this moment in Konosuba, I think the movie, or maybe it was when Union first showed up. But this is Union makes the sacrifice, learns intermediate magic,
Yeah, intermediary magic.
so that she can cast spells to save Komiko and Inky, and that Megumi doesn't have to use her skill points and can save up for her explosion magic, even though Union thinks that's a really, really dumb idea. And she saves them, and then so Komiko and Megumin run away, but then decide that's not cool, and so they go back and go to save Union, who's able to defeat most of the monsters until the villages chase a giant herd of the monsters back. And Megumin realizes she actually had the skill points all along for explosion magic, which means Union's sacrifice was worthless.
Well, she's kind of forced into this situation to like relook at it because they realize, oh, they're herding them into a non-populated area, but we're in it. They were about to get exploded themselves.
And we got to see what happens when they believe they can unleash the teachers.
Right, you're right. So Megumin learns her explosion magic, and she casts it for the very first time, wiping out this giant flock of monsters. And the town has no idea what's going on.
And immediately collapses.
Yeah. And they keep saying that the Mad Exploder did it.
Yeah, the Mad Exploder.
Mad Exploder that's running around.
So they're Union and now Megumin, because they've spent their skill points, they have to graduate now. Because once you learn magic, you have to graduate. Doesn't matter if it should have been advanced, but so they're basically done. Before they graduate, they go to get their fortune told, and this is probably my favorite scene in the whole thing, is the fortune teller being like, "You will go to the village or the town of newbie adventurers, and you will start up."
Yep.
Yeah, she didn't say Axel though. Maybe she said.
I thought she did.
Doesn't matter. You will meet a party. They will be competent, and then that sound, her face, too perfect. Laughed out loud.
Yep.
Was a little jealous that she was watching Konosuba, and I wasn't.
I know.
But otherwise, great scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then they graduate, and Megumin decides to make Inky her familiar and names it Chomosuke. Now she's got to get a job, and she's not really good at that. And every night she sets off an explosion, making her the Mad Exploder. Her and Megumin try potato farming and get the crap kicked out of them by potatoes. And then eventually, so this woman from the lady who bought the bracelet, she comes and she's like, "Hey, I'm looking for my master, and it's that cat, and I want to take it with me." And the cat's like, "Meh, no." Just sleeping with Megumin, doesn't want to go. So she offers Megumin gold, and she said, "I'll come back in the morning, let you say your goodbyes. You seem to be taking good care of her, and I'll pay you in the morning." So she comes back in the morning, pays her, but Union shows up and is like, "You can't just sell the cat." And the lady's things come off, and they find out she's a demon. And she's been having a rough life ever since she put that bracelet on. It's drawing losers, cursed
Worthless men.
worthless men all the time. And humans are always lying and breaking their promises to the fact where she mentions that and then like has a breakdown for a moment. They have to like sit her down and make her tea.
Mm-hmm.
But then
The
neat guy shows up, drawn, and it shows like his eyes match the glow around the bracelet. The bracelet has literally pulled him to there. And she's like, "Oh, it's a loser, man!" And he calls the other village men and she has to run away.
All
the village men. They all chase her off.
All of the Crimson Demon men are worthless. I love that. That cracked me up.
Megumin decides to keep the money and use it to teleport on her way and start her journey. And her classmates give her.
So she stole the money and kept the cat.
Yep. Her classmates give her a staff, an eye patch, and since she's alone, her last name will now be Solo.
Oh God!
I love
that. That's a Star Wars joke.
I love that we come to find out the staff does nothing for her. It just looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah, because I always thought that it gave her like a mana boost or something, but you're right.
Or that's how she channeled it. No, she can do it with her hand. She doesn't need the staff.
Yep.
Also love the scene about the eye patch. Like, doesn't this do something? No, I'm just a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
That's right, because she's like, I have so much latent magical power, I have to wear this to... No, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it's just fashion. And I think we wondered during Konosuba, what is going on with the eye patch? What is that? I remember wondering that.
We just weren't really familiar with this part of Japanese culture yet. Still really aren't, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep.
We're a little less Baka than we were yesterday.
Don't speak for all of us.
Fair enough. So she goes to the City of Water. If you've seen Konosuba, you know this is a great vacation resort where Aqua is highly revered thanks to the hot springs. And she's the goddess of water. Also, okay, so there's also the Church of Ares. Isn't that the other goddess that Aqua hates?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. The one that is better endowed. Aqua hates her because of it.
And so how that reflects is these two churches hate each other.
Yeah.
Well, one is like fine, but yeah, the cult of Axis, the Church of Axis that worships Aqua hates the other church.
Yeah, well, plus the currency is called Eris. Like, people love the other goddess.
Oh, yeah.
In
I remember
Axis, Aqua's people, like, Aqua's nuts. And you really see it with her Axis cult. Like, they are nuts.
They're not good people.
No.
Yeah, so she tries to get a job in this city, but just gets fired from that. There was a joke about like the guy was rude to me, so I had to pour the hot soup on his face.
Actually, that was a pretty great scene. He's like, you're fired. She's like, no, wait, let me explain. He's like, all right, fine. Try to save yourself. As she tells him the story, he's like, oh, wow, you're still fired.
Yeah.
Megumin sees a nun being harassed by guards, or these two men. They look like priests from the other church, and the two men are like, "Are you okay? Like, not doing anything?" And she's like, "Oh, you're assaulting me!" And so Megumin comes up to save her, and then the nun just runs away
and makes faces at them as she's running.
Right. Then comes back with a cop accusing these two men of harassing Megumin, and then grabs Megumin and runs away with her. And the cop's like, what is happening?
Yes.
She is a priestess for the Church of Axis and takes our young hero to her church, where every church member is staring at her and going, oh my god, it's a lolly. And she's like, leave me alone. So it's a feisty lolly.
It's so creepy.
But they feed her, so she stays until the high priest Zesta comes in, and he's like, will you sit on my lap? call me Big Brother. No, Daddy Zesta.
God,
So they're all just so creepy.
they are. It's like I have a love-hate relationship with the Axis cult because they're so creepy that I'm a little concerned sometimes. But also the humor lands really, really well with them throughout the entire sequence.
Honest question: do you think it lands better because you know Aqua and how terrible she actually is, and so seeing this true reflection of her cult makes it better, or is it just they themselves on their own very funny?
I genuinely find they themselves on their own very, very funny. It probably helps, but I really do. Like, just their
Same
behavior is so off the wall, unexpected, and it really shocks you. And that's the kind of humor I like.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just really inappropriate for like a holy church
Yeah.
or like churchgoers to be acting this way. So I think that's the contrast that makes it funny.
Mm-hmm.
So in return for the food and having a place to stay that they're giving her, she offers to help them with recruitment. And she takes Father Zesta out, and they try multiple plans. Like, hey, I will pretend to fall over and drop my apples, and you'll rush in to save me, and then start talking about the church to the person. But the girl's so hot that Father Zesta just runs out and spills the apples himself, and is like, oh, I will be grabbing these. Grab. And so she runs off.
So good.
And we go through like 4 or 5 different plans. At one point they quit, but then try again.
Mm-hmm.
Some good ones, yeah, some funny stuff. And then eventually he even calls him the Mark, and she's like, "Please don't say that. We're recruiting." It ends up being Union, and she's like, "Megumin, why are you trying to con me into joining a cult?"
Now, here's a question, because in Konosuba they get accosted in this city with pamphlets all the time, like
Mm-hmm.
in really creative ways. Is that because Megumin taught them how to be scammy?
Oh, I love that connection. I
'Cause
love
if that's
that.
the case, that just makes it even better.
Yes. I think you got
Like
something there.
them getting accosted is basically Megumin's fault.
It's her fault. Oh, I like that.
I don't. In a world building way, it's just a little too neat. Snake eating its own tail, especially since it's clearly a nod to that scene, but it's almost too neat. To be fair, Star Wars does it all the time, and I always think it's a little too neat too. Like, hey, I am also the one who started this religion that I'm now experiencing. Okay, well, it's a giant galaxy, so it's insane that you.
I just love the idea that later down the road, Megumin comes to visit the city and she gets accosted by her own tactics. Like,
Right,
that's
but-
just kind of sweet desserts, right?
But then doesn't mention it. It's why prequels are messy.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's true.
absolutely.
I still like it. I like the idea.
She is the one who recommended going to that town, though. She was like, "Hey, I know a vacation spot," and that makes it. She even makes that comment here, like, "Oh, if I ever have a vacation with friends, I will come here."
Yeah. And she's not the kind of character that would ever out that she was responsible for it.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, Union brought her excuse is I had to bring Chomosuke to visit with you, but really she's just following her friend and worrying about her.
Yeah, she even had a letter that she brought too.
Oh yeah, she did have an official
Mhm.
letter to come. Yeah. When they get back to the church, Father Zesta is arrested for treason because of the letter that Union brought.
Mm-hmm.
So someone has messed with the town's hot springs and turned it all into jelly slime, which Cecily thinks is amazing because jelly slime is like her favorite snack, and the fact that she's not allowed to eat the evidence at the crime scene makes her cry. Not the father being arrested. He's a scumbag. He's probably enjoying being whipped. But yeah, the not getting the slime, that's a heartbreak for her. And in fact, oh my gosh, they go outside and Cecily's like, "Hey, I haven't mentioned Cecily. Hey, Cecily's the nun. We should talk about Cecily. What do you guys think of Cecily?"
She's so disgustingly amazing. She she puts on this perfect initial persona of I'm a priestess, I'm innocent, and I'm here to heal your wounds. But literally paper thin right underneath the surface, she is a creep. And it just fits so well with this because Father Zesta is so overtly creepish, and she's just like deviously creepish. And it gets way better later on when she breaks in the Megumin's room. But I love her comments. She's constantly saying, "Call me Big Sis." It's like, why are you so creepy?
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that, like, it goes on to her being like, she's got her own machinations of like, I'm gonna come back and take over. Like, there's one scene where she's in front of the heiress church, right? And she just like starts throwing rocks at it, kicking the door like she's a maniac. And yeah, she cracked me up. I don't know. To me, she didn't seem that covert. Like she really came across as creepy from the very beginning I saw her. But I found her really entertaining. All of the Axis cult members that got airtime, basically her and Zesta, just cracked me up. Very consistent.
I did think she was funny. We've had discussions in the past about how most anime nowadays don't want to do the perverted male character. It doesn't play as well in modern times as it used to, so they go for the perverted female. The fact they have both makes me very happy. Like,
yeah.
And they're both, they're both terrible. They're shown for what they are, but equal opportunity, awful people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that. That's a good joke. It works for me. It makes both of them palatable. I'm good with it. They did this well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So they go outside with Cecily. He's like, "Come help me." And there's already two guys running for high priest, and they're both just the worst. One guy is like, "I'll give you free stuff." And the other guy's like, everyone has to sit on my lap or some creepy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna lower the age of consent.
Yeah.
That is super creepy.
Yeah. That's too far.
So
do not vote for his campaign.
This church is the worst.
Yes.
They go and inspect the crime scene and then find out basically someone put instant jello in the hot spring and turned all the springs into instant jello. But to them, it's called the jelly slime. Again, Cecily loving it until she does not allowed to eat the evidence. But there was so much. They could have let me have some. But when they get back to town, Father Zesta is now being released with the guards apologizing. It couldn't have been him, they found out. I don't remember why. They had a reason why it couldn't have been him.
I don't remember either.
I forget.
Anyway, so they're apologizing to him. The demon lady, her name is Arnis. Arnis?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She shows back up looking for Chomasuke. And he, again, creepy guy. And except for now, he has literally the exact powers to defeat her because he's a priest, which defeats demons. And yeah, this entire cult comes and attacks her, saying she's the Jelly Slimer. The demons in town must have been her. And she's like, "I just got here. What are you talking about?" And they chase her out of town, so she's defeated once again.
The best part of the scene, however, is Zesta. Anyways, Zesta. His initial instinct is, I'm going to drool all over this hot chick. But then when he finds out it's a demon girl, he's just like, "Oh, I have to suppress my inner urges because I'm such a creep."
Yep. And he's like, and I was missing her on purpose, just a little bit. Like I was just shooting nearby. I had to let her get away. She was too hot.
So we see Megumin and Cecily in the hot spring that night, having to share one of their tiny little pools because they only have tiny little pools. And Cecily's like, "Oh, by the way, it totally was Father Zesta. He accidentally spilled the bag into the hot spring. It was him all along."
Also, what makes this scene really work is like because they'll switch camera angles, so from shot to shot, they're on opposite sides of this pool, and then Cecily's here, And then Cecily's here.
Moving closer.
Yep.
And then finally she's just like, you're really close.
You realize mostly we're an audio podcast. Remember.
That's fair. That's fair.
Okay. And then Megumin offers to make them a big pool with her explosion magic, and she does. And it doesn't turn out awful.
Yeah, I expected there to be more of a like downside to that joke, but
Nope.
it was exactly what they wanted.
Just naked Megumin blasting a hole.
Yep.
Okay. They give her a blessing spell and all the church application forms she can carry. As she hires a wagon, they do give her money. And she hires a wagon to Axel, and Yunyun is going to come with her. And I love how she plays Yunyun, because Yunyun's like, well, you're going to Axel? I guess I should go too. I should head out that way. And she's like, oh, maybe I'll stay. Well, maybe I'll also be staying. Well, I'll just go. Gosh dang it, Megumi.
Yeah.
Can't give her a break. So yeah, they travel to Axel. On the way there, Megumin keeps talking about like, I know no monsters will attack this caravan, and they get attacked multiple times. And poor Yunyun. So to phrase it, these adventurers with the caravan are like, oh my god, it's Crimson Knight Masters. And so Megumin's like, oh yeah, we're masters. We can help. We're in this. And she can't do anything because they're all close range. There's hundreds of them. So Yunyun has to do all the spell casting, all the slaying, and kill all the monsters. Multiple times. First times it's giant worms, then it's giant bats, and then it's goblins.
Mm-hmm.
Happens every time. And everyone's like, Yunyun, you're so great. And Megumin's like, I'm also great. I just can't do it yet. But eventually this reveals all to be a plan by Arnis, who was draining Yunyun because she doesn't think Megumin can cast any magic and just so wanted to get their spellcaster out of the way. So Megumin comes up with a plan. After poor Yunyun prays to Aqua for help. Doesn't work. Megumin throws her kitty. Just done with that. And then prepares her spell. And Yunyun's like, you'll kill Chiomusuke. You can't do the spell. But eventually, Chiomusuke gets away from Armis, who got him. And then she does her own spell, and they have a big spell battle. And
It's
Megumin
so melodramatic, too. I love it.
Yeah.
It's like she's just holding him, and then the cat just goes, chomp, right on her arm. She's like, ow. And then just drops it. And that's it.
Yep. I did like the fact that Arnes realizes Megumin's father was the one that made that bracelet.
Oh yeah, she's like, "Hey, that's my dad's bracelet. Thank you for your
Thank
services."
you for your purchase.
And she's like, "This person item.
This is your
Now I
family.
really hate you."
Die. I love how like the black spirit bomb that she's got going just like boom, becomes way bigger.
But explosion magic is stronger, and so Arnis is killed. And then they head to Axel. I'm a little torn on the cameo Easter eggs of all these scenes. So like the first scene is we hear two people in a barn waking up and screaming at each other. It's clearly Kazuma and Aqua and Megumin being woken up by their arguing, but she doesn't see them or even realize that it's them. This happens over and over again and with multiple characters for the rest of the series. It felt like a tease of like, man, I really want to watch Konosuba.
Yeah, that's what I felt. Every time I was like, oh.
I was like, oh, we're at the town. Are we going to get like a little of everyone just mixed in here at the end? That'd be really cool. And they just kept teasing it, and they just kept not giving it to us. Anyway, they go to the Adventuring Guild, Megumin and Yunyun, and no one's there when they make their grand entrance, but the guild lady, she's like, hey, I'll explain to you how everything works. And Megumin's like, not yet. She waits for a crowd, and then she's like, I am Megumin. Teach me how to be an adventurer, for I am a great sorcerer. That works. She actually gains the attention of party members and gets a party of brother and sister. They go out on an adventure. Megumin casts her spell, and they're like, "Wow, that's a bit much. You probably shouldn't be in our party." They're like, "Well, we're too weak for your spell. You should be in another party." And poor Yunyun, who's just sitting alone because she's too scared to even ask anyone to be in their party. They don't even realize she is a mage because she's the opposite end of Megumin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she puts. Never mind. We'll get to it.
I just want to point out the guy that I truly believe is the Demon King, the Mohawk guy, makes an appearance. That has nothing to do to add to my theory or take away from my theory, but I have not let that theory go, even though I'm sure by now it's been disproven. He warns Megumin about Kazuma and Aqua, like, "Hey, there's these two crazy people. Don't get in their party." That didn't work. She gets a new party. We see Darkness walk by with the girl who got her panties stolen.
I don't even remember that character.
Oh, you gotta remember the scene where Kazuma steals her panties and waves them in the air. She has the short shorts.
Oh, I remember that now. Yes, that was good.
She was the one with Darkness when they walked by.
Oh,
and Darkness being like, "No, I'm going back into the slime forest." And whatever they do.
No matter how indecent it might make me.
Oh, Darkness. She fights a giant slime, explodes it. Her party's like, "Wow, you were great. You were awesome. You're a perfect fit." She's like, "Look, guys, I gotta tell you the truth, though. I just know the one spell. I can use it once a day, and then I'm basically worthless." And they're like, "Hey, that's fine, man. We'll get you some more skill points. You can learn some more spells." She's like, "No. It'll just be this one spell." And they're like, "You're fired. You should find a new party."
Yep.
So that didn't work out for her. Her and Union play chess that night, or what, a chess equivalent for their world. Megumin is giving a hint that this is why a construction worker is wheelbarrowing her back to town with Aqua and Kazuma in the background doing their manual labor, trying to save up money to start their lives. But he basically says, "Hey, there's this shopkeeper with a girlish figure that's because she's looking for a very voluptuous woman in her quest. She's looking for the girl from the beginning. But we know this is going to be Wiz."
Mm-hmm.
When she gets to the Adventurer Guild, she sees a party literally taking down their request for a sorcerer. When she walks in, like, "No, we're good."
Just
and then,
filled.
And then a man is begging Yunyun for a date, and Megumin gets really mad at her for that and scolds her. And they decide to form a temporary duo party together and have to beg for work. But that's when Host, the giant demon that has now become Komiko's familiar, he arrives and he meets Megumin in Yunyun and tries to introduce himself, but they run away. So the Adventurer Guild start trying to fight him, and loses. So the guild lady's like, "Hey, there was a new adventurer who I haven't seen in a while, but she had super magic priestess powers. You need to go find her." So everyone's looking for Aqua. But the thing is, they're thinking they're looking for a nice priestess, and Aqua's just the worst. Whenever anyone sees her, they're like, "No, that lady's terrible. That can't be her." And we see a scene of her ripping someone off because he bumped her and knocked coins out of her hand. She's like, "You got to pay me back all those coins." But
There's 10,000 coins.
And the guy even he gives her some money.
Mm-hmm. "Just get out of my hair. Just let me go."
And Kazuma cries because she's so good at ripping people off, and he's so proud. Then Cecily is back, waiting in Megumin's room, being very creepy.
Amazing.
The scene of her shoving her face as hard as she can into the bedsheet so it stretches into her face shape so she can sniff Megumin's bed sheets while still like talking normally. So she's there because Father Zesta has heard the voice of his goddess saying, "I need cash." So she's there to figure out where the voice came from. So also looking for Aqua. And they stop by the church of the other goddess, the Ares church.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like kicking down the door. "I know you got our goddess in there," breaking windows. And Megumin's like, "Wow, I'm not doing this."
Yep.
Then they go to a cemetery and something sneaks up behind them. And they're like, "We'll turn around together and face it." And then they both run off and they're like, "I thought you were going to face it. I thought you were going to face it." But it was just by whiz. Why is whiz? I don't remember.
It was Wiz.
But she is undead, isn't she?
She's a demon.
Wiz? Yeah, I thought she was a demon.
She was a
One of the
general in the
lords.
Demon King's army.
That's right.
Mhm.
So that's why she gave off such evil energy. Just real quick, that conversation in Megumin's room with Cecily. Cecily's trying to get her to do, like, help her find Aqua. And Megumin's having no part of it. And she's just like, "You are creepy. I want you out of my room. I want you out of my life." And she offers her money. And she's just like, "Actually, I think I will help you."
Yeah. Yep.
The next day, Union and Megumin are invited to a guy named Rex, his party, where they have a plan. They go out and capture what they think is the monster that Host is looking for. We know it's a little pretty kitty, but they think it's this. And it turns out this is the noob slayer that everyone thought Host was. But Union's the one who defeats it. And they're like, "Wow, Union, you're great. You should join our party permanently." But then Host shows up, knocks them all out with one punch. And he's like, "I smell my master on you guys," smelling the cat. And so he's like, "I'll make you a deal. Bring me my master, and I won't kill you or anyone else." So they go back into town to decide what to do.
And still, Megumin's, like, first instinct is, "Okay, let's just give him the cat."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But then she says, "No, I actually have grown attached to it." So they tell the Adventure Girl what happens. And then there's the scene. Guys, Union is standing outside a tavern, and then Megumin walks out with 10 million gold coins. And Union's like, "What did you do?" "I don't want to talk about it." And I'm like, "What? What? Konosuba was gross sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not. Never.
Well, I mean, the reason was because it was the
what.
money from Cecily, right?
That's the only that's the only other connection, because Cecily offered her 5 up front and another 5 for finding.
Oh,
Aqua.
was it Cecily? I thought she was just going
Yeah.
and sitting on people's laps who wanted to hang out with a loli.
No, that's what Union was allowed to believe, because Megumin thought it'd be funny if Union believed that.
Right. That was the
Yeah.
insinuation, but Cecily
Mhm.
earlier did offer her 10 million.
Much better.
Paris.
I did not write down Cecily's offer. Got it.
Yeah.
So they strap a toy cat to Chomsky so that it'll have his scent. And so the plan is basically use a decoy. Union notes how much Megumin has changed. And then that night, Megumin, who's very nervous about the battle tomorrow, she's not sleeping and notices someone sneaks into her room, and it's Union, who comes to confess, "I think you're great. You're my best friend, yada, 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 yada. But your plan sucks. So I'm going to do this instead. I've come up with my own plan." And then right before Megumin can stop her, she actually casts sleep on Megumin. She thought she was asleep the whole time, but doesn't want her to wake up in time. But actually does knock out Megumin. Megumin wakes up in the morning, runs out, and Cecily is there. Cecily gives her information and advice and a blessing. And she even calls her big sister Cecily, which is creepy. And then goes out to the battle. So, the information was Union's party is that party from yesterday. They had all been healed by Cecily. So this party is battling Host, and they're mostly losing except for Union, who's doing well with her spells. And she, after everyone's been defeated except for Union, she cast a paralyzed spell on it. And he's like, "Don't you know you can't work? That doesn't work on demons." but she had drank a potion that boosts the magic power of the spell, and so she has paralyzed him. And he's like,
And
okay,
area of effect.
wait for it. He's like, hey, you're not able to kill me, but you did pretty well. So I'll make you a deal, because we demons love deals, and I always keep my word. Let me go, and I won't kill you. And we'll just call this a stalemate. And the adventurer is like, don't worry about it, you go for it, you got it. And she's like, actually, the paralyzed spell had an area effect. She's also paralyzed. And he's like, oh my god, this is hilarious. You suck so bad.
Even so, I think she did slightly admit that she was either running out or was out of magic power.
He commented that that was the last of her magic power, and that's why he was like, hey, we'll just call this a draw. But she is also paralyzed.
Yeah, a big chunk of it, at least. Mm-hmm.
However,
and he just laughs. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And she's getting she's so embarrassed. She's getting all flustered about this. And then Megumin, who's been hiding this whole time, he walks out, or she walks out, and is like, she does her thing, and then she starts making fun of Union, my friend who paralyzed herself and confessed to me last night. Wait, you heard that? I heard everything. And then Union's like, no, just kill me. I'd rather be dead right now.
I can't move to do it myself. Someone needs to do it for me.
Someone murder me. Megumin casts her spell, and Host says, wow, that's really strong, but I probably would have survived it if I hadn't fought that paladin earlier, and if I hadn't messed with that blue-haired lady. So literally the whole Konosuba crew gets to have a little bit of credit for helping with this win, but Megumin's explosion magic defeats Host, which kind of is a bummer, because neither of these demons were really evil.
No. It was sad. They were both really kind of sweet.
I mean, this is Komiko's familiar.
Yeah. Well, at least from what I understand, he if he dies, like he made a deal, he'll become the familiar. Because that's where he's like, well, this was a life wasted. If I'm not careful, I'll come back as her familiar. And so I was like, it's a deal.
Okay. Yeah, so she wins. Cecily decides she's going to go on a journey to level up so she can take over the world. All the towns in the world. Union takes Megumin out to a field and is basically like, I'm going to go off on my own and keep leveling up so that I can challenge you properly, and leaves her behind. And then Megumin, who is now broke, we see her cast a spell in the night, end credits, but then now that she's broke, she sees this weird notice on the board asking for a sorcerer from a weird party, and so she walks up to these two weirdos, and Kazuma gets to do the end narration about how this is the start of their new adventures. And that is the end of this Konosuba spinoff. Any last thoughts about this ending, this story segment?
Just makes me want to watch the series again.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our final reviews. Jason, it was your pick. What'd you think?
It was definitely a treat. I had a lot of fun with it. I liked learning about the different intricacies of Megumin's background and the characters around her. I thought the way they treated the two demon generals that weren't that evil was pretty great. If Megumin taught the Axis Church how to be creepy and their stuff, that just helps with the original show that much. I enjoyed myself a lot. I'm going to give this a 4 because I don't have any really big complaints. So.
All right, Jeremy, how about you?
I was a little bored at times. When the comedy hit, it really hit well. Absolutely loved it. But there were just a lot of times where I was like, man, I miss the craziness, just always present, and how nobody gets along. Like, these two clearly aren't getting along that great, but sometimes they are. Sometimes they're getting along really well.
So everyone knows, like, I stopped on a lot of the highlights that I liked, but there were a lot of scenes of just like conversations that I just was able to blow past. Not only did they not have relevance, they also just didn't really land. Just to fill out what you're saying. Sorry, your review.
Yeah. No, exactly. So for me, I really like when it landed well, but I just can't bring myself to cross that barrier into a 4. It's a really high 3 for me. It just doesn't quite hit 4 for me yet.
That's fair.
It's a 3 for me as well. There are moments that really made me laugh. The Konosuba animation of faces will never not be funny. But I think it's up. I have a personal thing with prequels, and I think this suffers from prequels. It's not a story I was asking for or needed or wanted. I knew everything I needed to know about Megumin. We'd already gotten a lot of her backstory about her village and her relationship with Union in the movie. I was good, and I want to see Megumin continue to grow in her story to like push her backwards and then try to bring her up to the horrible person she is in regular Konosuba. It doesn't interest me. Not that it was anything wrong. Like I know people who like prequels, and that's probably their thing. It just that's what prequels suffer, and this is like textbook prequel itis. So just a 3 for me, but it is funny when it's being funny.
Now I wonder if they did like a darkness prequel. I wonder if you would like it just because it's darkness.
I love darkness. Sorry. You're probably right, but I will say I'm not hoping for a darkness prequel.
Yeah.
I have no desire for it. I want more darkness, but I would like to. Let's go forward. Let's go forward with the story, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that wraps up our discussion of Konosuba, an explosion on this wonderful world. Our next anime is again The Legendary Hero is Dead. If you have thoughts on today's podcast anime or whatever ones we've watched in the past, please feel free to reach out to us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or you can contact us on our website, the Anime Baka Club.com. Yeah,
That sounds right.
doesn't feel right. Contact us button on there, or leave a comment where you found this. Yeah, do that. Full confession, I've been getting sicker and sicker during this episode. I felt great when we started, and I'm pretty sure I have a cold now.
Oh no.
So if you watch the YouTube video, there was a lot of tissues that went by. Sorry about that. I'm doing my best. We need to go. We need to say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
Explosion!
Sayonara.